Hello everyone, this is Aaron Johnson with the Johnson iRacing team. I'm coming to you today from the Legends track at Charlotte Motor Speedway. This is week 7 of the 2021 season 1, and I'm going to try to walk you through my approach to this racetrack. I will give you this qualification up front. This is the track where I struggle the most. This is the track that I find the most challenging, and this is the track where I have to work the hardest to try to get a top 5 in that top split. So take that with a grain of salt. What I thought I'd do today is first I'll just walk you through a lap at Charlotte, and then we'll talk about kind of the turn-in points and how I brake and when I get onto the throttle, because I do something a little different with braking here than I do anywhere else. So let's start out. I'm going to start out with the driving line. We'll just leave it off for now. We'll crawl in the cockpit of the car. We're going to kind of walk through a lap again here, sort of in slow motion the way we did last time. So as you approach the start-finish line, of course, you should be full throttle now that you've come out of turn 4. So we're going to start this from right here at the start-finish line. As I move forward, what I'm looking for, the first thing I'm looking for is the Coca-Cola, what I think of as the 600 sign. It's the Charlotte symbol, this red on the top, blue on the bottom. Looks like somebody took a Pepsi symbol and stuck a car in it. And I'm watching for that, because that tells me that my turn-in point is coming, but I actually let that go by. So I'm going to let the Charlotte symbol go by me, and when I get into these stripes, what I'm looking for is the stripes to thicken just a little bit. It's the only way I know how to describe it, but it's a feel thing, because I'm looking for these stripes to get thicker, and I'm watching for this lane divider line. And so I don't, the front straightaway I think is a little harder to get in. But I'm watching for these lines to thicken a little bit, and as they thicken up, we can see them, they're getting thicker right here. That's when I start my turn-in. You can see the turn-in's just starting. I'm going to stay on the throttle pretty hard until I get the car to really start to turn. Okay, now that the car started turning, I'm going to try to make this line go kind of right under the left side of my hood. I don't really want it to come all the way out here to the center hood pin. That means I'm probably in too low. And if it intersects the edge of the A-pillar here on the driver's side, I'm probably in too high. So if it hits here, I'm probably getting in a little low. If it hits here, I'm getting in a little high. Those both present their own sorts of problems. Really what I want is I want that mark, I want this line to go kind of right under the left edge of my hood. I want it to be in this window area. And you'll notice that's kind of a theme with me in the way I get in and out of the corners at a lot of these tracks is I'm looking for a mark that I can take kind of right over the tachometer, for lack of a better word. And you'll also see that I am on the peg here. So I'm going to come in over that mark. I'm going to shoot for right at the apex of the corner, getting 2 wheels on the edge of the grass. This is like a black AstroTurf, and I want 2 wheels on the edge of it. If I'm just touching it, it's going to be a good lap. So I want to be right on the apron there. If we go to the chase, we can take a look at it. I'm actually a little too far out. I would want those wheels to be just touching the edge of that black AstroTurf. Get back in the cockpit. As we come out of the corner, we start to straighten up. We're rolling into the throttle again. You know, we kind of want to do that. We don't really ever want to just go from off to on, so rolling back into the throttle here. And then as you straighten the wheel up, is when you can really get on the throttle hard. If you start to get on the throttle hard with the wheel turned too far, you'll spin the car. It's really easy to do that here at Charlotte. And so what I'm doing is I'm going to be rolling into the throttle and then straightening the wheel, taking some of the wheel out of the car, and I'm going to aim to be completely back to a normal dead center straight wheel position when I get to pit number 17. So I'm kind of watching the pit markers here. And I want to be against the wall with the wheels straight just about the time I get to the pit 17 Bank of America sign here. You can see we're straightening the wheel up. Not quite straight yet. There it is. We're straight, and we're right at 17. Now my turn-in mark, pit number 21. And I'm watching for pit number 21 to get turned in. There's 20. There's 21. I'm going to let that 21 get almost by me and start my turn in, right? So there's the 21. I'm starting to turn in. I want to cross this is sort of like a no pit zone here that allows access onto the pit road in Charlotte. I want to cross that, And then as I turn in, I really don't have a mark to aim for here the way I did for the others. Maybe this little yellow mark right here I'm going to aim for to kind of try to keep on the left side of the car. This is all about feel and all about trying to get that car, again, right on the baseline. I know I'm doing well if this mark is going to hit the middle of the car, but you really can't see that from the 21 area where I'm turning in from pit 21. So this doesn't become visible until you're into the corner. So if you get into the corner wrong, you'll know if this mark goes in the wrong spot, because you want it to be pretty close to the center of the car, right? And then the same thing, you want to get right down on that white line, 2 wheels on it, maybe even get them onto that black AstroTurf if you can. So we're going to check that quick. We'll go back to the chase cam. And you can see this time I actually got it right. I'm right on the white line, which is exactly where I want to be. We'll crawl back in the car. Start rolling into the throttle as early as you can, but remember to roll in because the track's a little rough right here. And if your car's a little loose, or if you've got a lot of wheel in it, you're still turning hard and you're on the throttle hard at the same time, when you hit this little, it's not really a bump, it's where the track meets the apron, so it's a change in the banking, but it'll upset the car. So you really want to be straightening the wheel up some as you get to that point, even if that means that you end up having to turn the wheel harder later. Now in this case, I still had a little too much wheel in it, and you're going to see the car jump sideways on me. So there the car's jumping sideways, and I'm going to steer in to catch it. So you see I've actually got the wheel turned the wrong way, and that's because when I came across that transition from the apron to the racetrack, the car got a little upset, got a little loose. Right? So now I turn right back in after I catch the car, and that's a lap at Charlotte. Pretty good one too. 16:08.2 is a pretty good lap. This is probably 3 or 4 laps in on tires, so I should be at about the time I'm running my best laps. But you'd take that in a race. So what else is unique about Charlotte? Well, I think the other thing that's unique, and I do something different here with respect to the way I get into the corner. So the turn-in point, again, we're going to watch for them to get thick. As they start to get thick, we're going to aim for this line. We want this line to go sort of between the front corner of the hood here and the edge of the hood as I'm watching it, kind of right over the tachometer. Now, if you look down here, you'll notice that I'm still on the throttle, but I'm also on the brake. I don't do that anywhere else, but I feel like at Charlotte, getting onto the brake before you get off the throttle stabilizes the car a little bit. It actually causes the weight to transfer a little bit forward, but not completely forward. And then as you get off the car, the weight transfer is more gradual. And I think that, at least in my experience, makes the car a little more stable. So let's go ahead and go on into the corner. I'm getting on the brakes pretty hard now. Now I'm going to be off the throttle. Usually want to be off the throttle, about the time this mark goes underneath the hood. And I'm using about 45% brake. I mean, I've got a pretty good amount of brake on it. And as I turn in here, I'm going to slowly roll off the brake some too, right? So I'm going to ease off the brake as I'm coming in. I'm not just on the brake and then off of it until I'm ready to get back on the gas. And even then, I'm going to pick the throttle up just a little bit before I'm off the brake, because I feel like that changes the weight transfer in the car and makes that just a little, it makes it a little less abrupt. It makes it less likely to cause the car, in my opinion, to break loose as you come out of the corner. So you're rolling into the throttle while you're still on the brake, and that means that that weight transfer is a little more, it's just a little smoother, a little less abrupt, right? Then out of the corner, rolling into the throttle again, and then once that car feels really stable, I'm going to shoot for pit number 17. I want to be straight by 17. There I am, straightening the wheel right at 17. Then I'm going to watch for 21 for my turn-in. There's 21. I'm a little late this time. Actually, 21's a little further back than I'd like. Now I can see my mark. It's right here. I want this to go through the center of the car. Pretty good there. And then right down onto the apron again. And you'll notice I did the same thing coming into this corner. You want to get on the brake. At least for me, I like to get on the brake before I'm completely off the throttle. It just seems to me that overlap really helps. And then I'm also slowly releasing the brake rather than just dropping off of it. And in this case, in this corner I actually picked up the throttle again before I was completely off the brake. So overlapping those 2 points, that helps to make the transition smoother in the race car so that the weight transfer is smoother. Then I'm back up against the wall again. All right. So really the things you're looking for here is where do you turn in? When the stripes get fat, right about there. There's your turn in point. You want this mark to go kind of between the point of the hood and this hood pin, which is pretty good. You want to keep turning in. You want to remember though, as at least for me, when I turn in, when I'm getting into the corner, I want to be on the brake before I'm off the gas. And that is going to stabilize the car a little more. And in Charlotte, I think if your weight transfers are more abrupt, I think you're more likely to spin the car or more likely to push the car straight out into the corner. Right, then you want to be right down on the apex there. I'm a little too far out, so this is going to be this is not going to be as good a lap as I would like because I'm just a little too far off the corner here. You really want your wheels at least on the white line, if not touching that black turf. And then back out of the corner. All right, and I'm looking for me, for my style, for the setup I run, I'm looking for pit number 17. All right. Let's go back to, that's not what I wanted to do. Let's go back to lap 102. And let's just watch 3 or 4 laps in a row here so you can get a feel for what this looks like and sounds like. I'll back that up just a little. So out of 4 onto the front straightaway. Look for your mark. There's the turn in. A little loose, but a nice save. That's the 16.082. That's a good lap. You'd be very happy with that, especially if you could string several of those 16.0s together. And same thing. You want your turn in point, look for your mark, brake and gas together, back on the throttle, and as the quicker you can pick it up, the better. Same thing, brake and gas, back onto the throttle, pick it up as quick as you can. It's a 16.16. Really got into that corner well. Little push coming out there. Still ran a 16.09. Be pretty happy with that if you could string those together in a race. $16.061. So some pretty good laps there. So what are the keys? What are the tricks? Well, the biggest challenge at Charlotte is staying out of trouble. The track's small, it's narrow, the cars are challenged. This is, for me anyway, the hardest track to drive, so it's very easy to get yourself in trouble. If you can keep your car straight, stay off the wall, and manage to miss other folks who've had some trouble, you're going to run really well. If you want to go fast, I think there are 3 primary keys. One of them is developing the consistency on your turn-in point. I think the turn-in point at Charlotte is more important than at any other track. If you turn in too late, you push out into the grass. If you turn in too early, you drive across the black turf and you get an X, and you only get 17 of those, and it's a 40-lap race, 50-lap race. So you can get a lot of X's in a hurry if you're getting in too low and you're turning in too quick. I think the second thing is to use the brake and the gas together to help stabilize the car. I don't do it anywhere else. Maybe I should try it at some of the other tracks where I use some brake. But right now I'm pretty pleased with just using it at Charlotte. I use maybe 40% of my brake pedal when I get in, and through the course of a 40-lap run, I ran 40 laps last night. That's why we've got 108 on here. I was working on a setup, and I'd done a long run on it. Even at the end of the race, I was still running about a 16.4. So I felt like I had a really good race car. And I think one of the keys is using that brake. You'll feel the brake fade, so you're actually going to end up using a little more pedal toward the end because the brakes are going to fade just a little bit on you. right? And then I think the third key is in the setup. Now, as with all my other tracks, I tend to have the stiffest spring in the left front, but Charlotte, I tend to have softer springs than anywhere else. I'll tell you right now, I run a 225 in the left front, and I run a 175 on the other three corners, and that's usually where I start when I'm building a setup here. Every season's a little bit different. The track temperatures are different. I think iRacing changes some things subtly, so you have to work on your setup. But if I'm building one from scratch, I'm going to go 225 left front, 175 on the other three corners, and I'm going to try to get the car as low to the ground as I can legally. I'm going to look for my cross to be at least 52.5 and probably more like 53.5, and I'm going to get those tire pressures down low and keep them there. So I hope that this will help you guys out. I hope that you find some speed at Charlotte. I find it the most challenging track, the most frustrating track, not necessarily the most fun track, but since Legends cars were kind of born in Charlotte, I see why iRacing keeps it in the series. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. You can catch us on Facebook at facebook.com/Johnson iRacing, or you can send a message via YouTube in the comments. You can also look me up on iRacing, Aaron Johnson 14. For the Johnson iRacing team on the Johnson iRacing Network, this is Aaron Johnson saying, go fast, turn left, have fun.